Somewhere between the deserts and the Nile, a country cries, softly, constantly, and mostly unheard. Sudan, once a symbol of resilience and culture, now stands at the crossroads of chaos and silence. The war that began as a power struggle between generals has torn through cities, villages, and hearts alike. But beyond the headlines, beyond the fading hashtags, are the people, mothers, children, teachers, dreamers, all trying to survive another day in a conflict that the world has learned to scroll past. In April 2023, when fighting erupted between the Sudanese armed forces and the Rapid Support Forces, the streets of Khartoum became battlefields. What started as political tension quickly turned into one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. Millions displaced, thousands dead, hospitals reduced to rubble. And amid all this, an unbearable silence from the global stage. It's almost as if Sudan became too complicated, too far, too uncomfortable for the world to care. News cycles move fast, Johnny. One week it's Gaza, the next it's elections, and somewhere in the noise, Sudan fades out. Again. Yet for those living it, the war doesn't pause. Internet blackouts make it nearly impossible to reach the world, and food shortages push families into starvation. The UN calls it a forgotten war, but for Sudanese people, it's not forgotten. It's lived every second. Imagine this. You wake up to the sound of bombs instead of birds. You leave your home not knowing if you'll return. You stand in line for hours just for a bucket of water. This is daily life for millions. And still, the Sudanese spirit refuses to die. In shelters and refugee camps, people sing songs of hope, of peace, of a homeland they still believe in. The tragedy is not just the violence, Mas, it's the indifference. Global attention is currency, and Sudan seems broke in that sense. There are no viral campaigns, no celebrity outcries, no breaking news banners. Just quiet suffering, shadowed by the world's louder chaos. But Johnny, silence doesn't mean absence. Every voice lost in this noise still matters. Every family forced to flee, every child without school, every artist painting resistance in the ruins. They all remind us that Sudan is not a story of defeat, but of endurance. And maybe that ES where GlobalVibe now steps in, to tune into the frequencies the world has muted. When the world goes quiet, people learn to make their own noise, through art, through courage, through survival. In Sudan, even as gunfire echoes through the capital, there's another kind of sound rising beneath it, the sound of resilience. Take Mariam, for example. She was a teacher in Omdurman, a city across the Nile. When the war began, her classroom became a shelter. Chalkboards turned into message walls, notes of hope, prayers for peace, names of missing friends. Every day she gathers the children and teaches them under the broken ceiling, her voice trembling but steady. Education, she says, is our rebellion. Her story is not unique. It's multiplied by thousands who refuse to let chaos define them. Then there's Amir, a young musician from Khartoum. Before the war, his songs were about love and city life. Now, his lyrics speak of survival, exile, and dreams deferred. In refugee camps, he performs with a handmade guitar, strings replaced with fishing line, chords echoing through the dust. His audience, children who have lost everything, still smile, still dance. Because even in tragedy, music finds a way. And maybe that's what the soul of Sudan really is. Rhythm in resistance. The humanitarian situation is brutal. Nearly 10 million people displaced. Half the population facing hunger. Families walking for days across borders into Chad, Egypt, and South Sudan, searching for safety that keeps moving further away. But among them, volunteers, many young, many unpaid, form networks to deliver food and medicine. They are not waiting for the world. They are becoming the world they wish would show up. It's easy to say pray for Sudan, but the people there don't just want prayers. They want presence. They want the world to look, to listen, to act. In a global age where attention is power, Sudan's people are fighting to be seen. They're asking the world to care, not just when the bombs fall, but when the rebuilding begins. And yet, hope grows in the cracks. A group of Sudanese artists in exile has started digital galleries online, painting the pain, the memories, the beauty that still exists beneath the ashes. Journalists in hiding risk their lives to tell the truth, sending photos and stories through encrypted channels. Mothers form cooking circles in refugee camps, sharing recipes that taste like home. In every gesture, there's defiance. In every act of care, a refusal to let despair win. The question is not whether Sudan can survive, it is whether the world will help it live again. Because peace doesn't come from silence, it comes from listening. And if you listen closely, you can still hear it. The heartbeat of a nation, soft but steady, calling out through the static of global noise. We are still here. So tonight, as we vibe globally, let's not just scroll past Sudan. Let's speak its name, share its stories, amplify its voices. Because every time we listen, we bridge a little bit of the distance between their war and our world. This is GlobalVibe Now, reminding you that every crisis is human, every voice deserves space, and every peace begins with awareness. Sometimes, the world feels too loud, full of headlines, hashtags, and breaking news that break our hearts but not our habits. Yet in all that noise, Sudan's voice is still calling, not just for sympathy, but for solidarity. And maybe that's what peace really asks from us. Not silence, but action. When the bombs fall, peace begins in the people who still choose kindness. When the world turns away, peace begins in those who refuse to forget. And when fear spreads, peace begins in the courage to care. In the heart of Sudan, where the streets are dust and the skies burn red, children still draw the sun, bright, round, and full of hope. They still dream of classrooms, laughter, and songs that don't end with sirens. These drawings are not just art. They are blueprints for the future. Because even when the world falls apart, imagination rebuilds it piece by piece. And maybe that's what GlobalVibe Now is all about. Not just sharing global news, but global humanity. Because every time we talk about Sudan, every time we say their names, Mariam, Amir, the nameless thousands, we're giving them what every human being deserves: recognition, dignity, a space in the global conversation. Let's be honest, Janny, the world has a short memory, but we can be the reminder. We can be the echo that keeps repeating until someone listens. The echo that says, Sudan is not gone. The echo that says, peace is possible. The echo that says, voices lost in the noise can still be found, if only we choose to hear them. So as the beat fades out tonight, and the music flows into the silence, let's remember, the silence isn't empty, it's waiting. For empathy, for awareness, for change. This is GlobalVibe Now, signing off with a prayer and a promise that every unheard story will find its sound, and every cry for peace will one day become a song of freedom. Stay human, stay aware, stay vibing global.